Welcome to Bloody Good Horror, covering the best and worst of the horror genre since Halloween 2007. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Bloody Good Horror. My name's Eric, and I'll be your host for this evening, where we will be discussing 2001's commercial for rap metal, Resident Evil. We decided to revisit the film since the final one in the series is coming up, so we thought it would be fun to take a trip back in time. And you know what that means. New Joe singing accents. Or old ones, just come back. I'm the editor-in-chief over at bloodygoodhorror.com. Joining me tonight, first up, he drinks beer, he tells you about it, he runs our social media, and he's the co-host of Friends of the Real Housewives, the internet's premier Real Housewives podcast. His name is Joe.
Come on, get down with the sickness.
Next up on the show, he's a published author of horror fiction and co-host and founder of the Instamatic, one of the BGH spin-offs. His name is Casey.
Hello.
Next up, the business manager at bloodygoodhorror.com, coming to you from the city so nice they named it twice. And John Schnars lives there. His name is John Schnars.
What up?
What's going on, John?
I'm just happy to be back in the saddle, Eric.
It's officially summer because I made Schnars turn his AC off.
Oh, no, you didn't. It's still on, man.
Oh, shit. Turn that shit off.
All right, hold on. Stand by.
Last up tonight, joining us, helping Bloody Good Horror do stuff every day. He is the web developer at BGH, and his name is Mark.
That was great. That was a really great intro.
Schnars threw me off my game there with leaving his air
but I
conditioner
did
on.
turn my air conditioner off, so here we are.
You take what you can get, you know?
You know I require that you suffer when we record.
It's actually been lovely this week, so.
But hey, the good news is all of my children are home. Everyone's back for the show. The Novocaine that I had today finally wore off so I can speak, literally like a half an hour ago. So like when I started the pre-show with Casey, I still could not talk properly. So it's a Christmas miracle is what it is, I think. I didn't want to risk postponing the show since all you guys were actually going to be here for once.
It's going to be magical. I actually wanted you to be a little slurry. I thought that would have been even more magical.
Slurms, Mackenzie.
What have you been off doing, Schnars, that's more important than Bloody Good Horror?
I mean, nothing exciting.
Not getting a haircut.
That's true. Definitely not. No, I was just I did a little work travel, a little personal travel, and here we are.
Do you expense the personal travel as work travel?
I do not.
Secrets revealed.
Wink.
But dare to dream one day, you know.
Well, I'm glad you're here, John, because it's that time of year. I'm pretty excited. We had one cool day this week. I love fall. I mean, I think all horror fans do. It's also a little depressing to me because winter comes after that, and winter is the worst thing that's ever happened. But I get pretty excited for fall.
Well, you know what comes before winter, Eric? Halloween.
Yes.
Yes.
But before that even is the start of the fall movie season, something that we always enjoy here at Bloody Good Horror. Have you looked ahead? Can you tell us kind of what we're going to be encountering here in the next month or two?
Eric, I can tell you many things that we will be encountering. So the most important one is this a little movie called Don't Breathe. I don't know that we've talked about this on the show at all. I've seen probably 3 to 4 trailers for it in front of stuff recently. There's not been like a ton of other media around it. At least like I'm not seeing a ton around the city or anything.
I think it's been showing up on TV a lot lately.
Yeah.
It's also been protested by advocates for blind people, I think.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know why per se.
Interesting. I am pretty interested in this movie. I don't know. You guys have seen the trailers?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they look good.
It has the gal from Jane Levy from Evil Dead. I always found she's a pretty good actress, so I'm excited.
Suburban.
Eric and I were talking a little earlier about the gentleman from Avatar. who plays,
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I guess, the person who is being, protested against.
This
He's-
says, according to this Wired article, the movie portrays blind people as monsters, and I believe it to be a lie, said Mark Moorer, president of the Baltimore-based National Federation of the Blind. Blindness doesn't turn decent people into monsters. So it
Yeah,
sounds
well-
like a very surface read of whatever's going
Would that
on
be
in
a
the movie.
shame if we actually watched the movie and seen if there was like a backstory that made him violent?
I was gonna say, I don't think the movie's premise is that all blind people are monsters,
Yeah.
but maybe that
It
the
takes
one...
place in
He's not a
world.
blind monster so much as a monster that happens to be blind. Let's choose to believe it.
This is
Yeah.
true.
Sometimes you gotta.
Wait a minute. That's really funny. That is an article about a totally different blind person movie that was being protested.
Oh jeez. What's that one?
Just kidding. That was from a couple of years ago.
That one was called All Blind People.
Sorry,
Are
what's the name of
Monsters.
this movie again?
Don't
breathe.
Don't breathe.
Eric,
Boy.
what are you doing? You
Not to be confused with Don't Speak, the No Doubt song.
I
Your
am.
Novocaine traveled north.
I'm nailing life. I think is what.
all right. Well, let's get back on track here. So don't.
Let's
breathe
wait
it.
this out. Let's
Yeah, I got
let's
nothing.
watch the
I got-
process go.
I got nothing. Go ahead.
So then the week after that, we have we're actually. I think we're going to take a break for Labor Day. I think we've discussed and decided that's happening.
We've labored enough. We deserve some time off.
I'm going on vacation.
Yeah, it's
Where you
mostly.
going?
Saranac Lake in New York.
Beautiful this time of year.
Oh, scenic.
Are you going to pick some apples?
Crystal
You gonna do some apple
clear
picking,
water.
potentially?
Apple bobbing?
No, I'm
Yeah.
gonna go swimming and drink bourbon and introduce my lovely young daughter to the woods and stuff.
Nature.
Oh, this is the first trip with her, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be
Beautiful.
great. You're gonna have a great time. It's not gonna be miserable at all.
No, she's
my
great.
mom just picked up some random ass tick disease that's not Lyme disease, so ticks are just.
Yeah,
the
actually,
worst.
apparently I've read that is even worse, can be even worse. Are these weird
That's
little
a-
disease that they don't know a lot about yet.
Dear
That's a
Lord.
future BGH classic quote. My mom just picked up a random tick disease.
Yeah,
Jesus, is she okay?
she'll be fine. I mean, he was bad for a little while, but she's okay now. But
She'll get
so
over it.
what we are missing out on is
Did you
Morgan.
did you tell her to rub some dirt on it?
We-
Suck it up, Mom. Jesus
Suck it-
Christ.
Listen,
some
my
tussin
mom,
on
We all got problems over here.
she's the queen of sucking it up. She does not want to go to the doctor. She fucking was like on her deathbed before my
Oh.
dad was like, "You're going to see."
It's
a doctor."
that hearty Scandinavian blood, you know.
You should probably
something.
her into that.
Anyway, Morgan is the week of 9/2. We are not going to see that week, but we are going to keep it on the schedule. We actually have back-to-back right after, though. 9/9 is now Disappointments Room, which trailer dropped, I believe, today. This has had like a teaser
Hot
out for a
off
while.
the
It's-
presses. We just watched it.
Yeah, we just seen it, and I'm optimistic. I'm
It
interested.
looks interesting, although I do have a theory about what the disappointments room is.
yeah.
And
Don't,
if that
you've
turns out
already
to be-
spoiled it for the rest
If
of
that
us,
turns
so-
out to be true, then I will be disappointed.
Well, it's not a spoiler if it's just a theory.
It's
Yeah.
so good. What Schnars is saying is it's such a good theory that he's pretty sure I just spoiled the movie for him.
Yeah, that's basically where we're at. And then the week of 9/16, a little film called Blair Witch.
Ooh.
Yay.
Oh, you
I
mean the
will
best
be-
horror film of the year?
Yeah, it's the best. It's actually setting a new standard for what a good horror
A
movie
full
is.
page ad
ask
just told me
Brad
so.
Miska.
Speaking of exotic diseases, I will be on a cruise ship when you guys are reviewing that movie.
Oh, get in the corner. I am the Blavich.
You should
I'm
You
going
should
to
just-
play with you now.
Mark-
dial
Mark-
in from the fucking
Mark will
bathroom
be living
right
his
from
own.
me.
Yeah, Mark will be
I have a
living.
theory about Blair Witch, actually, that when you turn around and look in the corner, you go to another dimension. That's my pick.
Interesting.
The Blair dimension. Yeah, so we actually then are off for roughly 4 weeks. There's a couple movies that I threw out as potentials that we're going to have to do a little research on. There's something coming out called Friend Request, which looks like an unfriended kind of,
Heyo.
spinoff.
Unfollow.
I would also like to do Resident Evil 2 because it's the only other one in the series we haven't done.
Well, we're going to have some open weeks, so we're thinking coming back to Resident Evil 2. I want to throw this out live on the air. We have not talked about this before.
Oh.
How do you guys feel about Girl on the Train? Girl on the Train.
I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
It's like a pretty popular book, like a New York Times best-selling book for literally 2 years straight. And
This
they
isn't
turned
like
it
the dragon tattoo people? I've always thought it was that.
It's very much looks like that. The movie is got that kind of vibe to it.
I think
Dragon girl on
I
the
think
train.
I have maybe seen a trailer for this, but it's occurred to me recently that I'm at the point now where like, because we're in the theater a lot, but I probably need to see a trailer like 5 times in the theater before it sticks in my head as to
For
what
the
it
land.
actually is. Yeah.
Yeah, they've been doing a ton with like during the Olympics. This was on fucking constantly. It comes out middle of October. We got plenty of time. If listeners have thoughts or if they've read the book, I'm assuming Casey, you haven't read the book.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone's read the book and wants to weigh in on whether this qualifies enough, there's definitely murder. Let's put it that way. There's some murdering going on,
Murder.
at least based on the trailer. So I think it could theoretically qualify as like thriller, but it's probably a stretch. So yeah, and then we're gonna hit the Halloween rush. We really right now only have 2 Halloween movies. That's the Ouija 2, Origin of Evil, and then Rings. Did anybody participate in the Rings trailer nonsense on the internet this week?
Nonsense.
Oh,
That was
Yeah,
nonsense.
there was like some like Twitter, like there was like you basically like the first way you could see the trailer was if you basically like retweeted it. There was like I don't know, they had some kind of like interesting.
Like copy it and share the tape, like in The Ring.
There you go.
Fuck.
There you go, Eric.
That's
I
amazing.
have never seen the original Ring.
What? Wait, you mean the original Japanese version?
No,
or-
no, the U.S. one.
So I saw the U.S. one
A
first.
horse jumps off a boat.
Horse boat.
It's
Yeah.
fucking it's pretty scary, I think.
I
Yeah?
saw the U.S. one first. Yeah, I really liked it. And I later went back and Mark and I together, I think, watched the Japanese one, and it was like it's a little slow
It's very slow.
and incomprehensible in
Yeah.
some ways. I actually like the remake a lot more, but I'm just not sure that any of that stuff is interesting to me anymore.
I remember
The
being all
Ring-
excited to go back and watch the Japanese version and promptly fell asleep.
And the
That's
only
not
other
being
one,
sarcastic.
the only other one of those sort of like J horror remakes things, although I think this was originally a Korean film, but The Grudge was the only one that I like really connected with me other than The Ring. Like the American remake The Grudge was pretty
Grudge.
scary.
What's that? I think you're thinking of a different one.
No, that's The Grudge.
What am I thinking of?
With,
I'm thinking
uh,
of Drag Me to Hell.
Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Basketball, Joe. That's
Joe
what you're
just
thinking
like-
of.
Yeah.
I was like, what movie am I thinking of right now? I don't know. Any
Also,
other movie?
The Ring, notable for coming out during a time where spooky DVD features were a thing.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
could watch the tape that they watch.
You
think
watched the
that-
tape, and there was like
Oh,
Easter
yeah,
eggs.
I
Yeah.
remember that.
That
pretty
came out in like a time where I just stopped watching horror movies, and I was done.
Yeah, I think like right after that, I went through a little bit of at the point that Saw came out, I was like
Yeah.
in a period where I had not really gone to see a horror film in a while, and I went to see Saw in the theater and was like, wow, horror movies are fucked
Samesies.
up now.
Yeah, I
Okay,
stopped.
so
And then I discovered a
got
little
weird.
website called Bloody Good Horror,
Ah,
Oh, here we are.
and here we are.
Eric, when you watched Saw, did you realize that you were going to be talking about like Saw 45
Wow.
all these years later?
with a bunch of weirdos on the internet? No, I
Yeah.
didn't. I didn't know what a podcast was for starters. So
Weirdos on the internet.
yeah,
We should mention Rings. So that's that'll very likely to be our Halloween episode. The episode after that, very likely to be episode 400.
Oh,
Nice.
Oh.
The Quatricentennial or something. I
very
don't
nice.
know.
Yeah, we discussed it. We're gonna do something special probably. We're not sure what yet, but we'll figure it out.
I'm going to get 400 tattooed backwards on my forehead.
So just 4, just 004.
004.
Yeah.
Quattro.
Yeah.
Fun fact, Mark, when the original Saw came out, to dip back for a second, the only thing I
dip back.
probably used the internet for was my email and downloading really badly labeled MP3s that wouldn't organize properly.
Yeah.
Like, oh, bro, check out this MP3, this Dane Cook.
Oh, I
Show.
gotta bring it into Winamp and change the artist.
Bro, I'm downloading episodes of South Park, so come back to me in 6 months and I'll have the whole season.
My LimeWire's so laggy.
I was more a Kazaa kind of guy.
Cause
I downloaded a lot of porn, just a lot, like a lot,
I mean, Joe, you were of the age.
a lot,
A lot.
like offensive amount.
You still have it? Do you still have it on like a floppy disk somewhere?
No, when we moved.
I mean, that would have been like CD time, I guess.
When we moved.
I had to get rid of all.
Joe, wait. I like the idea that Joe used his multimedia degree to make like really interactive porn CD-ROMs with all the stuff he downloaded. Like he made his own menus and stuff.
When we moved, if anyone looked through the dumpster behind our apartment building, like a teenage boy would have just struck gold if he happened to be walking past and looked inside there.
The mother
See,
load.
I choose to believe there's like a really like dusty old computer with a hard drive attached to it, like on a desk that's covered up, and just one day you're gonna like take the cover off the desk and
It's like Tron, but for deviants.
yeah, with like a huge like CRT monitor. And it's like one day I'll find my way back to you.
Oh my god,
Joe.
That belongs in a museum.
Joe, speaking about shame.
Yeah.
Shame.
What are we What are we drinking tonight while we review Resident Evil?
Oh man, no shame here.
That's how they say it in the games.
Resident Evil, I don't think we really need.
Sorry, Eric.
What just happened?
How did you
I think
do
I
that?
booted everybody out. It
Holy
reconnected me when my connection
shit.
came back up.
Oh. Are you hosting the call, Casey?
So
Maybe
the stream
now.
so the stream is still up, so everyone in the stream just heard me go like so the good news is that
Joe, you got to turn your video back on.
the good news is
Oh.
that was on a perfect segue. I just have to re-record.
Sorry.
So we're recording again. Joe, whenever you're ready. Mark, you got to turn your video on too. Joe, whenever you're ready, just kick back into the beer recommendation.
No shame here with this delicious brew. Resident Evil, I don't think we really need to explain what this movie's about, but the one scene that
good
always
luck
stuck out to
trying
me,
if you wanted to.
Zombies.
I always loved was the scenes that take place on the train. Pretty much this whole thing takes place in what they call the hive, and the only way in and out is this beautiful train that speeds in and out. And in honor of that, I picked a beer from the good folks at Stone Brewing in Escondido, California, just outside San Diego. And this is their Stone Liberty Station Woody Moron. Wah, wah. This one, it is a wit beer or wheat beer, which is perfect for the ending weeks of summer, as the temperatures are still a little bit high. A lot of like banana and clove, a little bit of hop bitterness in this one because Stone is really known for their hops and doing hoppy beers. Comes in at about 5% alcohol, so not super high, definitely good. You know, you can relax and have a few of these. The cool thing about this one is you can actually only get it at the brewery out in California, just outside San Diego. Their brewery, I think I've talked about it before. Like they have such an amazing setup. They actually have like an acre garden that's attached to the brew pub. So you can just you can get beers and kind of just wander around this garden that they have set up. There's like a little pond in there, and like they have Adirondack chairs set up and stuff. Like it's really, they set it up so like you can just go there and kind of relax. Like you don't even have to eat at their restaurant. But the food there is just amazing. Everything that they cook there is, you know, sourced locally. So they really do like a ton to kind of put back into the community there. Then they have a few like small brew pubs set up. One of them is actually in the San Diego train station, which is where they kind of got the inspiration for these. And the wheat beer that they do is actually like a seasonal. So they just have like a rotating series of beers that they do that are only available at the brew pub. So if you're ever in the area, I wholeheartedly suggest it. It's by far like the best brewery I've ever been to. Just a ton of fun. You can really like spend an entire day there. What else do we got? Stone Brewing, I believe is their website. Yep. Stonebrewing.com. And as you know, all their stuff is usually great. So you can't really go wrong with picking up any other stuff in stores. And yeah, there you go.
All right. Thank you for that, Joe.
Thank you.
Let's do it, folks. Let's take a quick break so that we can review Resident Evil.
This is the whole issue.
Is society crumbling, Marty?
No, society is binding, right? It's filling in the cracks with concrete. Everything's filed or recorded, blogged, right? Chips in our kids' heads so they won't get lost. Society needs to crumble. We're all just too chicken shit to let it.
This is Jason Mewes, and you're listening to BloodyGoodHorror.com. Yes. attention of it. Your big breaking TV. Up the prime time, bitch. Main feature.
And we're back. Resident Evil. This movie came out, fellas, in a simpler time. Let's call it 2001.
I wouldn't agree with that at all.
What was the actual release date?
It's listed 2002.
2002. Okay, so never mind. It wasn't a simpler time. Same time. as
Oh
now.
no, things were fucked up by
Yeah.
then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty bad.
I was walking home from work worried about anthrax every goddamn day.
I was
probably
actually
came from the Umbrella Corporation, Joe. I think that's why you were worried.
now that I
Literally.
really think back on it, I think that was probably the first like full-fledged year of original BGH. Like I bet you this movie was one of the first reviews I wrote for the site.
I bet we rated this 3 bloody heads out of 5.
Probably, yeah, or maybe 4. I might have given it 4.
Depends on how generous you were feeling that day.
Yeah. John, you were probably somewhere learning words.
I was actually
Yeah.
learning words at the time.
You were probably somewhere like being, what the hell did you do? You're like guardian of the secret library of Balls and Shaft or something?
That's it was actually my title. How did you
Ancient
guess?
Guard of the
It's actually
ancient
called the Disappointments Room. Was the name that he...
guard of the ancient Illuminati manuscripts.
Yeah.
Yeah. John, please bring us the word of the day.
Eric, today's word is parasol. That's P-A-R.
Oh, I think I know where you're going with this.
I'll take it.
I was hoping for a little chuckle, but I'll settle. A parasol has 2 definitions. I'll give you the second one first. A widely distributed large mushroom with a broad, scaly, grayish-brown cap and a tall, slender stalk growing typically in grassy places.
Wait, what are we talking about here?
A parasol is also a light umbrella used to give shade from the sun.
It's also a penis.
Yeah, so
I believe the word you're looking for is snail trail.
Sure. So parasol.
No, thank you.
Grunties.
Parasol comes to us from the Italian, actually, early 17th century. Very specific origin here, which I like. The Italian para meaning protecting against, and sol meaning sun. Gives us parasol.
And what does that have to do with this movie, John?
Well, a parasol is another word for an umbrella. And if Resident Evil has taught me anything, is that multinational corporations that are involved in legitimately all of the industries
They make bullets.
are bad. They make everything. Did you notice the wedding ring said
Yes.
Umbrella Corporation?
Because it's the sign of a really classy brand is when they put their name on everything, including wedding bands.
Well, it was unclear if that was meant to be that like the wedding or the marriage itself was
Right, but if it was like an undercover fake marriage, why would you like put it on the ring? Fake,
Well,
just
it's
fake.
part of their property. It's their uniform.
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna need these rings back when you guys are done. Umbrella didn't get so big by
These are
wasting
ours, just so you know.
resources.
They make some interesting decisions about allocation of capital there at the old Umbrella Corporation.
Can't
Yeah.
beat these.
Yeah,
So Umbrella.
John. Now to my favorite part of any Resident Evil review, and that is when you tell me what the movie's about.
Yeah. I mean, in a lot of ways.
Who directs this too? Who's in it? Who directed
Yeah.
it?
All right. So this is directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, who I think directed all of the Resident Evil movies.
No, that's not true.
And the Royal Tenenbaums, and Rushmore, and all
at
those.
least-
He is
it-
listed.
At least 2 of them he did not. One of them was this dude Mulcahy, Russell Mulcahy. Did
Okay.
1 or 2 of them. But he
I
did.
mean,
He absolutely
yeah.
directed this one.
It could have been when he was busy with AVP, so he he had to take a break.
Well, I also don't think he ever like intended it to go this far.
Well, he's
None of
listed
us
as
did, Eric.
writer.
None of us.
He's listed as writer on I think all of them except 3D, but he was the director on 3D. I don't know. Fuck, I can't figure it out. In any event, Paul W.S. Anderson directs. He is directing his wife.
Yeah, he didn't
Still-
do. Sorry, he didn't do 2 or 3. He picked back up
Okay.
with 4.
Gotcha. He was like, "Yo, we got to turn this ship."
So he did the
around."
first one, and then he did the whole second trilogy, and then the 7th one, right? That's coming out.
We have to get back to our roots here with Resident Evil 4.
You guys are making a mockery of this.
Yeah. So he's directing his wife? Question mark. We were talking about this over email, but I didn't actually do any research. Mila Jovovich.
Jovovich.
Are they still married? Did we confirm that?
Well,
think
that's
so.
what I didn't confirm.
Oh, hobo.
Wikipedia says they are.
Oh, that's good.
I'll
Good for
trust
them.
Ruby Rose is in the new one.
One of their agents would have updated it if they had broken up. So, yeah, I mean, she is playing Alice of Resident Evil fame, I guess.
No, there's no
Go
Alice
on.
of Alice of Resident Evil fame. It was an invented character for all these movies.
Wait, she wasn't in.
Did
the
you not
games?
read my emails?
No,
God
I
damn
did
it,
not,
John.
Eric, or I skimmed them at
No,
least.
that was part of the reason why people were like WTF, because they didn't use any of the characters from the Resident Evil movies.
So the only game that we should have probably started here. The only game that I played start to finish was 4, which was the one that was like kind of a whole separate like set. It really didn't involve Umbrella all that much until the very end. So
The only one of these movies that links in pretty directly with the game is the second one, which is the story of like the third game, I believe, pretty closely,
Yeah.
like with Liberties. And
The
then after,
Nemesis program.
Nemesis, exactly. But aside from that, they have like some of the other films introduced characters with like names of Resident Evil characters in the games, but they rarely had anything to do with the actual characters. And this
Gotcha.
film has no characters except Zombie.
all right, so all right, let's just put the games aside. I will tell you what happens in the Resident Evil movie world.
And they're actually
Um,
called BOWs, Schnars, Bioorganic Weapons.
Nice.
Mhm.
Okay. Bows.
Get
Can I
that
call them
get
bows?
that bow over there.
Bow, wow,
That
wow,
bow.
yippee-oh, yippee-yay.
So the film opens in the Hive, where people are doing sort of corporate-like things, getting their coffee, going to their desks, riding the elevator.
Underground.
I am an office drone.
Yeah, office droney type things. And we see someone basically unleashing this virus within a like sort of heavily protected medical research facility in the Hive. It then gets like sucked into the air vents because they have super poor like control over their research facilities apparently, and so everyone in the Hive becomes infected. There's like sort of 10 minutes of just like kind of chaos as people are infected, and Umbrella Corporation starts to quarantine or just like shut down the Hive. Flash forward, then we sort of have a second opening on Alice waking up in her bathroom, unconscious, on the ground, and that sort of starts the rest of the film. She immediately, you have like whatever sort of black ops agents come through the windows with gas masks on, sort of attacking her. She doesn't know what the hell's going on. There's another guy there that they throw in handcuffs, and they whisk her down into this tunnel that's in this huge mansion. She's sort of walked around and seen that she's in this like enormous mansion. There's no one around. It's like it's sort of deserted. But then these guys whisk her down into this tunnel. We get to this train. The train takes her down into the Hive. And then we get sort of exposition dump 1, which is the sort of captain or corporal or whatever explaining that there's been this incident. Everybody is dead, or they think everyone's dead, and they're there. They are people from Umbrella who are there to sort of figure out what's going on and to try to like extract, I guess, the virus or to figure out what the hell's going on.
This is going on really long.
I zoned out there for a second, but I think that was pretty
Yeah.
good. I think you nailed it.
What else would you like?
No,
I mean,
I think you got it. No, I'm literally saying
Yeah.
I think you got it. It made my brain start bleeding at some point.
yeah,
Michelle Rodriguez.
Yes.
this movie
Mm.
will do that to you,
Yeah.
unfortunately, for
But
better or
I'm
worse.
gonna
try to-
get laid.
Try to follow me on this one. Michelle Rodriguez is angry and tough.
Yes.
No.
and
He's
sweaty.
just walking one-liners in this movie
Yeah.
that usually are like
Oh, Michelle
he just says
Rodriguez.
shit or call
Mich-
someone a bitch or something.
Michelle Rodriguez had my favorite unintentional comedy moment of the movie. It's like right at the beginning. They're trying to get into the hive and the power goes out. And somebody goes, oh, the power's out. And she goes, I got it. Like presumably meaning she's some kind of like electricity expert. So she
Yeah.
lowers herself below the platform we're on where there are two large plugs that she just goes and fucking plugs them back in. That's
Yeah.
all
I
she
know
does.
What to do with a plug, you plug it in.
Also, how did
How do they
plugs
get unplugged?
undone?
So like that one scene is the perfect microcosm for this entire movie because that's how everything plays out.
So let me ask one critical question that remains unresolved for me after watching this film. And not to derail us on minutia here, but very similar. Like the next scene in the film, they find the guy stuffed into the closet in the train.
Yep.
How did he get into the closet?
That's a metaphor.
Joe, what'd you think of Resident Evil? Did you see this back in the day?
I saw this.
Answer, but okay, I'll wait.
Well, I thought, didn't he say that? I don't know.
We
Yeah.
got to do the
I
round
thought
table,
at
John.
some point he said actually how he got in there. I saw this actually. I'm pretty sure opening weekend in the theaters when it came out. I was pretty fired up. I had played the original game. I didn't play much of the other ones, but I was really looking forward to it. And I'll say when I first saw it, I loved it. I think at the time, and as we talked about earlier, I didn't even mean this, but it was shortly after a period where I stopped watching horror movies. And this one kind of just came up, because I was interested in the game, but I wanted to see the movie. And I ended up really liking it, almost being a little bit impressed that it was actually in the theaters, because I feel like around this time, you didn't see a lot of really good zombie movies. Like I think there was the Dawn of the Dead remake.
No, that was 04.
Was that later? Okay,
Yeah,
it was later.
So this one came out earlier, and I think I remember being really impressed that this actually made it into theaters because it kind of had like a B movie like vibe to it, with like a really sort of sleek production.
I mean, honestly, I can't think of what the the previous wide release zombie movie would have been before this.
No,
I don't even know.
And it had a really good look to it at the time. I think we'll talk about it doesn't really, the graphics don't hold up very well, but at the time, I thought it was pretty impressive. And kind of watching it again, there's definitely some flaws. The acting is pretty atrocious. But I think from a nostalgic standpoint, I still find this really enjoyable. I don't know how I would feel about it if I saw it for the first time now. I like to think that it still has sort of like a Sci-Fi Channel charm to it. With
charm's a good word for all these movies, I feel like.
But overall, I'm a fan at least of this original one.
Casey.
Yes, I think I saw this original one in the theater too. I don't know that I was quite as excited about it as Joe was and saw it on opening night or anything.
Wet myself.
I played some of the games. I wasn't like a diehard fan of the game. I was aware of them, so I came out of this one really entertained with all the crazy action and Mila Jovovich jumping and kicking dogs in the midair and everything like that. But I left also scratching my head though, not sure what what it had to do with the game, because I couldn't remember if she was a character in the game and whatnot. So that was my original impressions with it. But now that we've covered all of these other movies, which I have enjoyed to some extent or another, mostly for their B campiness, going back to this one and rewatching it now after seeing all those, and I probably haven't seen it probably in a good 10 years. I found it, I was surprised. I enjoyed it quite a bit. It was, it did age fairly well. Joe was right. Acting's atrocious. The action scenes are still a blast. There's some crazy stuff going in there, and there's some good throwbacks to. It's interesting after seeing the entire series how much this actually adheres to more of a classic zombie formula.
Yeah. For sure. John.
I had never seen this. I have only ever seen whatever episodes I was on. And I feel like I've probably only seen 2 of them. I feel like I missed one of the other Resident Evil. So I have this pretty specific understanding of the Resident Evil universe, which is Resident Evil 4, the game, which has nothing to do with the sort of like main story, I feel like.
What are you buying?
Well, and then, yeah, Mark, wow. Specific reference. And then these movies, which it's like if you watched one of the Saw movies out of sequence and then went back and watched the first one. It like fills in a ton of gaps. I thought this was much better than I was expecting, but it's still like I enjoyed it. I actually had a good time watching it for the most part. But then I was thinking about it a lot today, and I was like, that movie was hot garbage. So I don't know. I just yeah.
Mark.
It's I have like an sort of conflicted relationship, I'd say.
That's kind of the secret of this movie and enjoying it is you don't walk away thinking about it.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Well, that's all. I mean, that's all of them, right?
you
That's
can't.
on you, John.
I mean, you're right. I apologize for thinking. You guys, you're right. No, but it's a fair point. I mean, this one was, I think, better even than some of the sequels that I've watched. Like, because some of those make legitimately no sense.
Yeah.
This had like a fairly coherent.
This is like silly in the same way, but way more coherent than most of those sequels.
Yeah.
Mark.
Yeah. I was 16 when this movie came out, and yeah, you're all so old. So I saw it right when it came out, and I loved it then. I've seen hundreds of movies since then.
Wow, impressive.
Yeah.
Dozens.
Since you were 16. Good work.
I've seen at least 3 movies since then. And I will say, going back to this, I didn't like it as much, but it is better than all the sequels by a long shot, because it just like, it's basically, there's like a pretty, I don't want to say tight, but there's like kind of a by the books sort of futuristic zombie movie in here with a bunch of like random Resident Evil shit mashed onto it.
Yeah.
Like, including specific callbacks to like characters from the games and spin kicking and slow motion and all that. So like you can start to see the seeds of what will become like the entirety of the movies.
There's 2-minute door openings. You just watch the door.
Yeah, and like very slowly climbing up ladder scenes. But you know, it's kind of fun. It's very dated. I would not say that it's aged particularly well. You know, the musical cues and everything, like
the soundtrack.
If you watch this, it definitely feels like a time capsule from that time. But I really enjoyed going back and watching it, and I actually think that I couldn't tell you, aside from the rain fight, anything that happened in any of the sequels. There's like 3 or 4 scenes in this movie that I still remembered vividly before I even went back and watched it.
Oh, yeah, that actually surprised me too. Like there was I usually forget
the laser
what happened
scene.
in a movie like a week after it, and this one like, oh, this is when this happens, and you know I probably haven't watched this in like 5-6 years.
Yes, best illusionary dissecting or whatever since The Cell.
Here's a great question though. I remember somebody posing back at the time this came out, and I went, "Huh, if the queen, is that what they call her, the Red Queen? If she really just wanted to murder everybody in the room to begin with, why didn't she just go straight to the plaid laser pattern and not send like one laser at a time to just see if she could pick them off?"
Because
did anyone survive? They all died anyway, right?
They all died.
Well, that's what I'm saying. She could have gotten everybody with one fell swoop.
Wow.
Anyway,
if you've seen Spaceballs, you know you can't just go plaid immediately.
Right, you got to build up.
That's a reference.
Like Joe, I have a lot of nostalgia for this movie for several reasons. I mean, I was in college, I was younger. This was in a period for me where I was really like discovering horror in a way that I never had before. Like I was a huge horror fan as a kid, but my scope was very limited. And then when I got to college and I sort of was like on the internet regularly for the first time ever, I discovered like whole communities of horror fans who were rediscovering like forgotten movies and cult classics and sharing them with people. And so like just in general, this was a really exciting time for me, like as a horror fan. I also am a huge like gamer, so I was pretty excited about, a Resident Evil movie. It's important to remember that at the time, like internet horror fans were like pretty not happy about this even before it came out. When it was announced that the movie was being made, most horror fans, I think, and even a lot of game fans, like immediately wanted George Romero to be sort of like conscripted to do it. And he actually directed a Japanese commercial for the first game, or the second game, maybe? Second game. And so that actually started this like rumor mill. You could literally probably go back and find the posts about, oh, is he going to be doing the movie? And Then it was announced that Anderson was doing it, and then he was going to hire his wife, and so people like were not super jazzed about this, and I don't recall it getting very good reviews. Like the reviews it got when it came out were pretty similar to what we're saying now. Like it either got trashed or people were like, this is like dumb, but it's kind of entertaining. Going back to it, I really wanted to make sure to like turn a critical eye to it and really kind of think about things. And it's just like the script is not good. It is surprisingly coherent. But what I realized about this movie,
well, there's a shitload of plot, right? It's bad in a very
a lot of
specific
plot
way.
delivered in a very hacky way, right? So like the amnesia plotline is so dumb and unnecessary, so it turns the whole plot into an info dump. Then you have like the head of the special ops team whose literally only job is to read things like he's a voiceover artist to tell the audience. That's what he sounds like.
So weird and out of place.
And the whole movie is just one nonsensical story after another. There's weird cuts. Like there's a point in time where when they're in the like labs where we see Alice and this guy have this interaction one moment, and then the next moment they're being chased by a zombie and they run into a door, but like literally there's something missing from there that must have gotten cut. Like the amnesia thing in general doesn't make any sense, and it makes the plot.
Why did they gas her? Did they explain why they
gassed her?
They
claim that it was one of the Queen's defense mechanisms. But what would have been a way stronger movie would be to actually watch her unfolding the plot to get the virus and then watching it blow up, and he's trying to do this clever like piece together the pieces of the past, like Memento kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But it's just done so hacky that it just makes it renders any kind of storytelling a mess. And the other thing that I noticed here that I realize is like every one of these movies' problems is like there are no characters. There's like 3 different pensive looking white guys that I could not tell you the difference between. And they maybe have little details about them.
Wearing a SWAT vest.
Yeah, like they maybe have little details about their characters, but none of them are characters. You can't like even Mila Jovovich, who's in all these movies. Give me a character trait of hers. She kicks.
And the only one that had a bit, even the slightest bit of character built around it was the cop guy's sister.
Who
died?
Well, the guy. Wait, you mean the guy who gets arrested, whose sister died, that he was coming to rescue or something?
Right, and she's not. She's only in the movie in flashbacks.
Oh well, no, Casey, you're right. He did have a Raccoon City cop badge, but that never becomes a thing.
But that girl, his sister, was the closest character that we had to an actual character in this, because he actually got some backstory and maybe something to connect to with her, because you found out she was trying to out Umbrella Corporation.
Right.
Yeah. She seemed nice.
Overall, though, I actually enjoyed this watch through a lot, and not just because of nostalgia. Like, it's paced really well. I think it's got just enough cohesion to it. And I think if you're a person like me who just appreciates silly action, there's a lot of great stuff to be had in this movie, like Mila Jovovich Matrix kicking a zombie dog in the face.
In slow motion.
Stuff like that. There's tons of gunplay. There's lots of practical effects. There's some really bad CG that is I'm almost kind of nostalgic for in a weird way.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I actually feel like the overall premise of this movie is it's enjoyable because it's from 2002, and so many of the things, including the music,
it's like Mortal Kombat Annihilation enjoyable.
You guys absolutely. That's a really good analogy. It's very Paul Anderson directed Mortal Kombat, right? It has that same sort of fun vibe to it where you can go back and watch it again, and it's I feel like it's a really good movie for this time of year. You throw on around Halloween, you can watch it a bunch of buddies and have a good time.
Follow it up with an Underworld.
Just gonna invite some people over.
I'm just gonna the neighbors, the people I haven't met yet. I'm just like, guys, we're gonna come over and watch this movie from 2002.
Have you ever seen Mila Jovovich with paper taped to the front and paper taped to the back? Well,
I'm gonna get drunk and then I'm gonna tell you guys where I was on 9/11. We're gonna have that evening, new neighbors. That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, the weirdest, most nonsensical medical gown ever. Just designed to give you just the right amount of side boob.
Oh, by the way, she had needles in her brain that she just pulls out.
Yeah. It's like he watched, what was it, The Fifth Element? And he's like, you know what? That outfit you wore in that didn't show in a bush. We gotta fix that in this movie.
I gotta say, though,
there's definitely one person on this movie whose sole job it was to find obscure ways to cover her up or not cover her up.
She does.
Like,
she
hey, we've
does,
got a sheet over here. Let's see what we can do with that.
That guy did a terrible job.
She does sport an early proto version of the Skrillex haircut, though, so I think she should get credit for that.
That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
Womp, womp.
Uh,
Wah, wah, wah,
Call
wah, 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 wah,
911
wah.
now!
there are so many places to go with this. It's just
Nice reference,
So-
Joe. That was
I'm
good.
curious. So, if for anyone who did play the game, because I didn't realize that this was that divergent from the game, like the plot here to me, and I'm curious if Anderson, I think because he wrote it or at least co-wrote it. Do you think he was trying to go for this sort of like arcane, overly complex narrative because that's what the Resident Evil game narratives are like?
The Resident Evil game narratives are totally up their own ass, like just kind of in a different way. And I haven't actually, like, it's been a long time since I played through the original game, so I don't remember exactly where it goes. But the plot of the original is like you're two special ops people who are being sent in to investigate an outbreak, and you end up at this mansion. And then I'm not
Where
sure.
there are lots of typewriters.
I'm sure there are people out there listening that could like fill me in, but I'm not sure if like in the mansion they discover like maybe there is Umbrella stuff under the mansion or something. I don't actually remember.
There's definitely a hive, right? Like that's not something
I don't
he invented
know.
whole cloth.
I don't know. But like then the second film, the closest thing to like an actual part of this movie that really resembles a game, the very ending shot where she's sitting next to the police car and she's got a shotgun and like everything's on fire. That's like actually a fairly faithful recreation of the opening screen of Resident Evil 2, which is how you start with rookie cop Leon S. Kennedy. So like
Almost
it's just
positive in the original game you do go down like into the hive.
you definitely go down into some underground stuff. I feel like at some point.
Yeah.
But like
I'm
Yeah,
into some
ride a
pretty
train.
underground stuff.
they're kind of
You
telling.
connect two ports and then ride a train.
Hence the Skrillex
I guess
haircut.
what this does do is I do think that it makes the story larger. I think that it's like the scope wise makes things seem way crazier, which
I mean,
I
it
guess
seem-
makes sense.
You mean because Umbrella Corp is bigger in
well,
this?
yeah,
than-
and like I don't think there's anything resembling this hive in the games. I could be wrong, but
I almost like I remember there being like an underground like control station or something.
Well, I was gonna say,
towards the end.
like, how about the scenes in the film? These were like really hilariously dated when he's I guess it's like the captain from the squad is explaining like, here's where we are. The heat signatures are in red and they show us on the map.
Oh,
and it's
and
like,
then this
terrible.
perfectly animated map that even though he's not controlling it goes along with what he's saying.
yeah,
It's
well,
really
it's
funny.
basically like explaining how video games maps
Yeah,
work.
no, there's a
That's
lot
what
of
I'm
video
saying.
game stuff, and
If
they
you press select at any point, the map will pop up and show you where you are.
there is actually that. So it's really interesting though. Like there's a lot of video gamey visual touches, and they keep going back to that map. They keep cutting back to like a CG map and swooping around so you can see where the characters are and you see the heat signatures and stuff. And even the way that they shoot some of the people as they're kind of strafing with guns and stuff. And it's
Mhm.
interesting at the time there was a lot of discussion of like, how do you make a video game movie? Do you literally put like video gamey tropes in there?
Right,
And
House
that
of the Dead.
that conversation
Yeah.
led to something like House of the Dead, where you just took that as literally as you possibly could. But it's
Well-
but those elements are in here, and it was something I noticed on this watch.
I mean, one of the things about this that's sort of quaint and hilarious when you're watching it in 2016, like in the past 2 years, I can't remember if it was last year or the year before, we watched a Terminator movie with a completely CG version of an old Arnold Schwarzenegger that honestly like didn't look that bad. And we're like approaching Uncanny Valley territory.
Yeah.
In 2002, they created honestly some pretty cool special effects for some of these monsters. You can tell some of it's practical. And then they did this animation and then they looked at it and went, no one will ever be able to tell. Put it in the movie. And it's like Dead Alive baby levels of bad, how different it is between the like practical effect and it's just so funny to
It's
think
a-
like looking back, you're like, you know what? I think that's good. Let's run with that. This is
Well-
the point. This is the point where people became more comfortable with leaning on CGI, but it's like just it's so crazy
It was
how
like-
far off
It
it
was
is.
definitely the growing pains period, and it's really watching it as a stark reminder of how bad that shit really was. Like it's really rare that we're watching a movie and I complain about the CGI, and it's rare that it takes me out of the film anymore. But there was a time when that was the rule, when good CGI was a rarity.
Yeah.
I mean, this far removed, it's so ridiculous. It kind of adds to the enjoyment, but
I really found myself wondering because the dog effects looked practical in most instances.
I think they were. I
So,
gotta imagine.
I wondered how
All
they
of the
did that.
close-ups, all of the close-ups were practical, and then anywhere where it was like moving
I don't
was
know.
CGI. Like if it was like
Well, it
jumping
was
around
almost
the
like it
train.
was like stop motion CGI. It was like weird. Like they probably like shot some stop motion, but then used computers to kind of like animate it a little bit more. I don't know. I think they probably just like overlaid it on a regular dog jumping around kind
She
of thing.
Matrix kicked that dog in the face.
It looked like they just took some old meat and just rubbed it on a dog.
It did. No, it looked honestly. It looked to me like some like.
I was thinking about
gelatinous
the
goo.
liquor. The liquor.
Yeah, the
specifically.
liquor I think is by far like the most obvious.
I just like the look of disdain that Schnarr's got in his eyes when he's like, I don't know.
I did have you know
I
what? I
don't
actually
know.
was thinking that about the dog. Like it does look like they just draped some loose meat on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Loose meat.
Oh,
But-
I love meat.
Loose meat
yeah,
sandwiches.
But so like the visuals I was talking about, like obviously the scene with the lasers we've already talked about. For some reason, I had a memory of that guy just like hanging out in the ventilation duct, fending off zombies for a long time. That might be it, but I don't
You
know.
know,
like,
I
it's
just
really-
like
The
I keep-
laser grid is the one thing that's got me excited from seeing the trailer from the new one. I mean, the trailer for the new movie doesn't look that bad.
Well, I
but
think she
the
goes.
fact that they go back to it.
Yeah, she goes back to the hive. So we're definitely, I would assume, going to see like the Red Queen, which is one of the coolest parts of this movie. I think
Oh yeah.
the fact that like the antagonist is an AI little British child who is like not very nice.
turn
Yeah.
left.
But that's
But
how many.
it's
This is
a-
what the 7th movie that's coming out, and so this is the first one. So that's 7 movies later. That's iconic enough that
It's a
even
cool
if you
little.
haven't watched it for a while,
Yeah.
you're looking at you see that hallway, even though it's all grodied up, and you're like, oh, cool shit's gonna happen. There.
Yeah, I
I
think
just
that's a
wanted
neat
her to
idea.
tell me that she was my daughter. That's really what I was just waiting
Yeah.
for.
You're all going to die down here. That was a big line in the trailer. That was like
Oh
the cell.
yeah, I do
Oh, yeah.
remember
That was the
That's pretty
cell
iconic,
line in the
too.
trailer.
But I am your daughter. Nobody?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't
what is
do
that?
that if
That
I
does
were
sound
you.
familiar.
It's from the others.
Oh
Oh, that's
God. Oh, dude, I just got the chills when you said that.
But
But I am your daughter.
Oh, that movie
Hey,
scared me.
The so this I know that when we watched the latest Resident Evil, I think we were remarking how strange it is that Michelle Rodriguez's clone is just back.
Yeah.
Like she
Thank
like
God.
spoiler alert, she just like straight up becomes a zombie and dies in this movie. So how the hell does she end
Wait,
up
is she
back?
in the new
Because
one?
they're all clones. Don't you
Right,
remember
but,
that
like-
in the last?
Right. No, I get it, but that means that oh, you know what? They must have cloned her before she became a zombie.
Yeah,
That's
she was
what
a
I'll choose to
soldier,
believe.
so yeah, they had her DNA. I don't know. Who
Haven't
knows?
you
Got
ever
it.
seen Too
I mean, they
Fast
definitely
and
need
Too
to keep
Furious?
her. They need to keep her around for all the grumbling and aggressive one-liners, you know.
Another funny, like just dumb scripting moment. So they're walking through the labs, and you can clearly see on either side of them, glass labs are flooded to the top. Which, by the way, and it's an editing thing, but it looks like they go from about 3 inches of water all the way up to the ceiling in about 10 seconds. But later on in the movie, the special ops people and Alice are coming through, and you can clearly see the water's all the way up to the ceiling. And the guy looks at one of his other special ops guys, who's like, listen, check this out. We got to find out how bad this flooding is. And I'm like, motherfucker, it's bad, okay? You're looking at it right now.
Looks pretty bad, Chief.
Pretty,
I'm just gonna go
pretty
crawl into this
bad.
grate and unplug the bathtub, and this will all drain out.
That floating dead girl over there says not so good.
Actually, one of my favorite like weird tech moments in this movie was when they're like, "I have an idea to shut down the Red Queen. We're gonna shut down the power," and then he just like stacks a bunch of like computers on top of each other and like, presses a button, and all the power goes out.
Well, and,
Look, Mark,
the
you may
whole
not have
thing-
been in the internet worlds around 2002, but you could totally do that. I was
Yeah.
there.
It's,
Just
I worked in
I don't know.
IT.
It's
I worked in IT in 2002. It's totally.
I guess if you
possible.
plug them all into the same outlet, it would like short out the breaker. Right?
it seems to me
Why
like
didn't they
all he
just unplug
needed
the power
to
strip?
all he needed to do was just have Michelle Rodriguez unplug those plugs again.
That was just for the train.
Oh, sorry.
I will
Oh,
love
wait.
her till the day
Did
I
you?
die.
It's back.
I'm looking at that right now.
But yeah,
Do
it's
you-
like
Do you
there's
think when everyone showed up to work at the Hive, they went on that train, or is there like another?
Yeah.
the hive.
entrance?
No. See, because the house. Well,
Do you think there was a Cinnabon in the hive?
not that train, because
Absolutely.
the house they were saying was like an emergency entrance. So the
Yeah,
people
they
were
did
coming in
explain
from.
it.
I think the people were coming in
Gotcha.
from like the city or something.
If you missed that, that's on you, not us.
Oh no! I'm
My
sorry.
bad.
No,
I'm sorry.
John. There's a throwaway line. They all live down there. That's what they said.
No, well,
Wait,
they
really?
eat down there. I
No,
don't
no.
think
They
live
said they
down
I don't
there.
think
live
they
in.
lived
They
there.
said they live and eat underground. They live and
Oh.
eat and sleep and do everything underground.
That's really sad. They're mole people.
I mean-
Do you think any?
There is-
Mole people.
That's really sad. They're mole people. Anyway.
Taste like mole, walk like people.
there is like a pretty long conversation to be had about when movies do evil corporations and the corporations just make no goddamn
Well,
sense.
it's funny
whatsoever.
too,
Well,
right?
do
Because
you
like
think-
Evil Corporation is such a like 90s antagonist. Like that was really a thing in the collective conscious world conscious in the 90s and
Not
sort
familiar
of
with terrorism, so corporations.
well
are
no
evil.
and it like it informed those like media and the presumably the production of the first game, which came out in 1998, and then you make this movie and then it's like 9/11 happens and you're like, shit, suddenly giant corporations
Well, but I
don't
do
seem
think
to
we're
scare.
back there, right? Like I'm trying to think. There's definitely been recent films that have kind of had. I mean, the
Well,
one
because
that, like,
now the
Fucking
concern
Walmart, man.
but now the concern are like corporate paramilitary stuff, which I
Buy
guess
local,
that's
farm to table.
what's going on here.
that is part of what's going on
Yeah.
here for sure.
John, do you think that all evil corporations store their viruses in double helix shaped glasses?
Yeah, yeah.
I did laugh out loud when she shoots the
What
gun
was-
and they close up on a CGI slow motion bullet and it says umbrella on the bottom.
Yeah.
Just in
it's-
case, you
There's
know.
definitely someone who watched this movie in 2002 and thought it was like the deepest shit they've ever seen. Like, yo, this
Oh.
like skewers corporations, man.
They bought the soundtrack too.
I do love that, like,
Don't
they're
be a sheep.
the guy who's like trying to take everything down. His entire plan is, well, I'll just pick this up and toss it over my shoulder,
But
and it's going down.
it's going down for real, sheeple.
All right, fellas. Anything
Does
else?
anyone want to comment on the music specifically? You guys seem to have
Oh
had
my God.
thoughts about it. That
Did you look
were
at the
right-
track list, Joe?
Oh my God, did I? I've
Who's
got it
on-
right in front of me.
Who's on there?
It was a who's who. You had the Coal Chamber, the Marilyn Manson, the Slipknot, Fear Factory,
Wow.
Static X, Rammstein, El Nino, Mudvayne.
Jesus, you weren't kidding about the family values thing. that
Oh my
you-
God, no.
I saw Static X once because they were opening for a band that I went to see, and
Rest in
literally
peace.
their music was offensively loud. Like it hurt my brain. It was so loud.
Oh, Eric, I could just show you such wonders.
Oh my god, I don't like music that loud, man. I literally wear earplugs when I go to concerts now.
Can we just
Oh, I
reflect,
do. I totally do.
Yeah.
Can we reflect on how terribly awesome the band name El Nino is?
Oh, just.
It's
just
Spanish
amazing.
for sick child.
So I don't know, do you guys remember Roadrunner Records? Like, it's still a thing.
Oh, yeah.
but every band on this soundtrack, I think it was put out by Roadrunner.
I'm starting to see now a lot of like nostalgia for these bands, and I totally get it. It makes sense in the cycle of things, but It-
Cobra.
there's something really bizarre to me seeing people write really earnest articles about like early 2000s rap rock bands.
Well, it's like, you remember like 10 years ago, like specifically with like VH1, like all of a sudden hair metal was like popular again. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like we're getting to the point where
Yeah.
these bands are gonna.
It's like
kinda have a
we're
resurgence.
days away from seeing a really heady think piece about head PE.
Yeah, yeah. Like Coal Chamber did a reunion tour like a year ago, like, and people like lost their shit. Like, I think they did really well. You know, I don't see Marilyn Manson having a big comeback, but
Yeah, I mean he's bigger than any of those bands still.
he's
least.
big and
What
like
is he
physically.
doing?
No, he's still touring.
He'd have
He
to
was
get,
on-
like a new weird androgynous boobed
Boob-
suit.
He
Boob
was
suit?
on tour with Rob Zombie this summer.
Oh, the blue boob suit.
But apparently he was just like a drunken mess. Like
Oh.
he's a fuck up now, but you know, he still got his thing.
Marilyn Manson. It's a weird.
I would
dude.
say like of anyone, his music probably holds up the most out
Probably,
of any.
yeah. I mean, he's probably got the biggest fan base still of any of those bands.
Yeah, well, Slipknot. I mean, they're huge. Like
Slipknot,
they're
yeah.
they're pretty much like, you know, metal juggalos at this point.
Hey, Mark,
Yeah.
Well, that's gonna get you an email.
We've got a gift from the gods tonight in the form of a movie guide for Resident Evil.
Oh my God,
Wow.
we've got a gift from literal God, since I assume the man who runs this website speaks directly to our Lord and Savior Jesus Crazy.
Jesus, what did you
so-
think of this movie?
If so, if you're not familiar, Movie Guide is our favorite website that reviews movies for their objectionable content. So us feeble-minded people will not be corrupted by all of the crazy shit that you see in movies. So Resident Evil features a solid pagan worldview with some anti-capitalist content about the dangers of big business, about 29 obscenities and 6 mostly strong profanities, plus at least 3 crude sexual comments. Extreme, often bloody and gruesome violence includes implied decapitation, depicted decapitation, zombies and monster eat people and infect them with virus, torso cut in half by laser, entire body cut into little pieces by laser, people fire pistols and machine guns at zombies and monsters.
By laser.
And people inject virus antidote to virus into their arms. Brief flashbacks 2 or 3 times to nude couple fornicating.
Oh.
Partial
But
male
they were
and female.
married.
They were
so, I
married.
mean,
They were.
yeah.
They come on.
That's true.
They were umbrella married. I don't think
They
that
were
counts.
umbrella married.
I don't know.
This
man.
does not discriminate. Partial male and female nudity during fornication, and heroine is nearly naked a couple times. No alcohol use, no smoking, and miscellaneous immorality and amorality, such as people infected by monstrous virus contemplate suicide.
Well,
Is it a weird thing to put your wife in a movie and like really, really go out of your way to show her nudeness as much as
Are you
can?
describing a Rob Zombie film?
Is that a weird thing to do though? Like, would you do
No,
that?
it's definitely weird. Like, if you
Hollywood
think
people are
about it,
different, man.
in the Rob Zombie context, like half of his movies are like leering ass shots of his wife.
Is it like a
it's
showing off thing? Like, hey, check this out.
I think
Yeah.
so.
dig through the dishes, burn through the witches,
This is
fellas.
what this is what my wife looks like with a giant napkin.
You know,
taped
it's
to her.
funny. It's
Check
funny
that
because
out.
we've reviewed like all these movies and the Underworld movies, which is like a similar thing. And I just like, I never really thought about it until just now.
Where
But
is
the
she
thing,
from?
I mean, you have to assume that she's involved in this. It's not like he's like forcing her to do it. So
Yeah.
she's like, "Yeah, let's do this.
Well,
that
like,
sounds awesome."
Clearly,
I've
there
been
was a
doing 6
discussion
more.
at some point about how much Bush was going to be shown, and
She's
the answer
Ukrainian.
was-
I'm pretty sure there, like, this is like they just walk around nude.
Wasn't
like,
Fifth
most
Element
days.
before this?
Yeah,
sure.
I think
was
so.
like way more exposed.
Well,
than
here's
that
my
for
point.
most of the
There's-
movie.
No, you saw like Bush in this one.
There's
Yeah.
zero need for her to be naked in
Isn't
any
that
of this
rated
movie.
like PG-13?
This is a very
Yeah.
2002 conversation, by the way. Dude, did you see Resident Evil?
Like,
Totally.
but my point is, it has nothing to do with the plot whatsoever.
No,
No.
there was no need for it. But you know, I feel like
gratuitous.
It's strange.
she was a model first, right? Like I feel like
Yeah.
she's just very open. She's probably like, just film it, like whatever.
I
happens,
think she
happens.
was
I
the
like
first
Joe's.
sounding like a
I
bunch
like
of
Joe's
American prudes
invented.
right
I
now.
like Joe's
Wow.
invented conversation with Mila Jovovich about being nude in his movie.
I actually think she started as a person who had an alien encounter, and she was so profoundly changed by it, she started making spooky movies.
You know what, Joe? Just
because
go
it
with
was
it.
real, you guys.
You know what, Joe? Just go with it. I'm gonna take my clothes off, and you just figure it
Yeah,
out.
she's
We'll
like,
figure it out.
just film,
Yeah.
lover, and if nips show, nips show.
You can
If,
CG 2 pieces of paper like a sandwich board over me later with string over my shoulders.
If my downstairs business gets on camera, then just show it, man. This is free. This is 2002.
Yeah,
Just cover me in butcher paper.
nice. All right, guys. All right, guys.
Get
That's
down
gonna-
with the sickness.
Would
know?
you recommend this movie, Joe? In 2016, would you recommend it
I would, yeah,
to
absolutely.
someone who's never seen it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fun, and like I said, like I think it's very charming in sort of a sci-fi channel sort of way.
Sure.
Like, and I think it's just a fun movie to watch. So yeah, I would.
Casey, you're
I thought it was fun.
okay. John,
I'm gonna say no.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
sorry.
would. Mark,
Watching this movie in 2016 is like watching Lawnmower Man in 2002.
ooh. I gotta
So-
imagine like that.
I-
holds up
so
not
yes,
nearly as
I
well.
really like that quote on like a re-release DVD. I think that would be
Yeah.
nice.
So yes, watch it. Although it doesn't have a monkey swiping a key card with a VR headset on, so it's got that going against it.
All right,
Monkey
guys.
hate
that's-
clean.
Monkey hate clean. That's gonna do it for Resident Evil. Let's take a quick break and do some fan mail.
Exorcism is alive and well. Today, it's bigger than it's ever been.
Reverend, I need you to do an exorcism for the soul of my daughter.
Now, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Good. Nothing to be nervous about.
No!
Where's Nell?
In the fire.
Shh. Do you hear that? Let's get out of here.
If you can't save my daughter's soul, I will.
Go! Go! You should be compelled to leave this girl. In the name of Jesus Christ, I command me to be gone! Oh my God. That isn't human.
The Last Exorcism, PG-13, in theaters everywhere, August 27th.
Greetings from Tromaville. This is Lloyd Kaufman, president of Troma Entertainment and creator of The Toxic Avenger. You know, folks, when we're not making those great movies like Tromeo and Juliet and Poultry Guys, Night of the Chicken Dead, the Troma team likes to kick back and listen to Bloody Good Horror, because Bloody Good Horror is the best television there is.
Send your emails to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or hit us up on Twitter at BGHorror with the hashtag AskBGH. And don't forget to pick up back episodes of the show at podcast.bloodygoodhorror.com.
And we are back. Back in the house. Bloody Good Horror, the best television there is. Fun fact, The Last Exorcism, that was a Joe and Eric mandate, certified, right there.
Oh yeah, that was, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, you
We
came,
had,
met me in Boston. We had
what-
a delicious Panera dinner before.
Panera before.
Oh my God, that's the cutest thing I've ever heard.
And a slap and a tickle afterwards. It was
Did you
delightful.
both slurp French onion soup out of a bread bowl?
No, but I did have some of that country mac and cheese.
Ooh. What about the iced green tea? You fuck with the iced green tea?
No, because I was going to a movie. I don't drink a lot of liquids before a movie.
Oh, you do pee a lot during movies.
Yeah.
That's a thing.
That movie creeped me out in the theater, though.
Yeah, I do not remember.
I remember making Joe walk me to my car. No, I'm just kidding. Only one email.
You would have done that either.
Only one email
Oh,
today. info@bloodygoodhorror.com is the email address. For just one from Chris. He says, anyone here watched the movie February yet? It was released as The Black Coat's Daughter later on. But anyway, it's a real super slow burn, but it's hella good if you can get into that kind of thing. I would recommend it. Probably my favorite film of the year so far. Keep up the great work. That's from Chris.
I've never heard of that.
I have never heard of this either.
It has Emma Roberts and Kiernan Shipka, otherwise known as the daughter from
Mad Men.
Mad Men, yes.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. It's distributed by A24, who did The Witch and some other things. So
I couldn't get past season 2 of Mad Men.
Oh my God.
I thought
love that show.
I thought the first 2 seasons were like just really well written genius television, and then I felt like from the 3rd season on they were just throwing shit at the wall to see what.
It was very like Sopranos, where it had peaks and valleys, but
Oh,
the
don't
last
get me-
2 seasons
Don't
were
get me started
amazing.
on The Sopranos.
Or straight fire, as the kids say.
well, so interesting side note about this movie, it was directed by Oz Perkins, is the director's name, and he got his start as an actor in Psycho 2, where he played the 12-year-old Norman Bates.
Huh.
Also starter of the Perkins franchise.
Sure, there you go.
Hey,
Yeah, he's
Did
Go
you
on.
guys see that the second to last Howard Johnson restaurant closed down?
Oh man.
And so
Seriously?
guess where the
There's
last
that few left?
There was only 2. They just closed down in Maine. Guess where the last remaining one is, Joe?
Oh, it's upstate New York, right?
Lake George, New York.
Yeah.
And
There you
for
go.
this article I was reading, they called the guy and were like, "Hey, are you guys doing all right?" And apparently business is booming there. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
It's so weird. After you started closing the other ones, people just started coming here.
man, that is sad. That like breaks my heart.
I don't know that I've ever been to one.
Did you ever go to the one in Times Square, John, when it was open? That may have been before your move. It was an amazing like throwback. Like Leslie and I, we would go there to eat every once in a while, and there was always like some weird like old school like swing band playing, like like far after like swing was like popular again. Like it was literally like
swing never went away, Joe.
It's coming around
like,
again.
Stepped in a time warp. Like it was
No,
amazing.
my
It's real, that bums me out.
my childhood thing that disappeared was the ground round.
Oh man.
Yeah, we used to eat
There's
it around all the
still
time.
those
where you could like pay your child's
Everywhere.
weight or something in pennies or something like that.
I want to say there's still a few of those around though.
There's on like the main kind of strip near where I'm living now. There's a ground round that they never tore down, but it's like in the middle of like a thriving like main road or whatever, and it's
They
just a
should
ground.
change it into a club.
It's
and
like
just call it that, the ground round. They never
a ground
tore down.
round, but like in the middle of this concrete like jungle, all this grass and like weeds have grown up around it. It's the most depressing thing.
Oh yeah, no, there's one in Wisconsin near me. What's your we'll talk about this after, but it looks like there's still one in New York.
Yeah, I don't
There's
need to
one-
go to it. I'm just
Guys,
saying.
how do
that
you
was
feel
my-
about Ponderosa? Should we talk about?
Oh,
Ponderosa?
that's it. I was literally about to say that. There's one up outside of Milwaukee that I have tried to convince Leslie to go to with me like every weekend.
You're gonna be so deeply disappointed. They should
No, absolutely not. I will
rename
not.
Ponderosa the disappointment.
They invented the Sunday dessert bar. God damn it!
Wait
I
a
will
second.
fight
Wait a
you to
second.
death.
Let's flip it back. Mark just said they should rename Ponderosa to the Disappointments Room,
Have you?
which
there's
is a
chicken
really
wings?
great full circle of everything we've discussed
Delicious.
tonight.
Honestly, Joe, I haven't been to a Ponderosa since I was like 6, so it could be
He's just
it
talking
could be
shit.
amazing, and I would never know.
Oh,
Hey,
it is amazing. I will fight you to the death.
In
on
my
this one.
hometown of Plymouth, Indiana, Ponderosa is still fancy eating.
There you
It's
go.
good, right? Hey, when's the last time you've been there?
It's probably 4 or 5 years.
Oh, it's delicious. Oh.
We are also on Twitter at BG Horror with the hashtag AskBGH and BGH Classics. Mark, what do we got doing tonight on Twitter? Hold on, wait. But in the
Ask Ponderosa.
before we do this, I want to point out that I'm going to put this picture of Joe in the video where he is very precariously trying to carry a frozen cake while wearing the daddiest shirt ever invented. Carry on.
It's a
White
Cinderella
people.
cake.
All right. So I'm gonna do BGH Classics first because there's only one. So if you're not familiar, we have our classic episodes available at bloodygoodhorror.com or for patrons at patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror. So if you're listening to an old episode and you hear us say something stupid and funny, because that happens, tweet it to us with the hashtag BGH Classics, and we'll read it on the show. Because if it's one thing we love talking about, it's how fucking hilarious we are. This one is from That Baseball Joe. Eric says, "Wait, my wife is Asian, though." Joe says, "I have no clue how that applies to Spanish people." And that is from the Marked Ones, episode 276.
Yeah.
I have no idea what the context of that was. So
And I don't dare try to figure it out.
That's the best part, is that there's no context in these, and they're amazing. So yeah, if you do want to tweet us at BGH Classics, please mention at least the episode number and the movie if you can fit it. But all right. Also, ask BGH if you have a question. Send us a question at Ask BGH, and we'll read it within reason.
Cool.
This first one is from Nerdy Jock 86. You can't be both. I just finished
I don't
Until
think that's
Dawn.
true.
Has any?
Wait. Exhibit A, Charlie.
That's true.
That dude played college
I was
basketball.
mostly kidding. I lifted some weights this morning, bro. I did squats. You want to talk about squats? All right.
Mad squats.
This is from Nerdy Jock 86.
I'm just saying, jocks are people too, Mark. I don't like when people disparage jocks broadly across the board.
Sure. This is I just finished Until Dawn. Has
Hey,
anyone
Mark,
played?
fuck you.
What? Let me read this.
Go fuck yourself.
You ever seen the movie Lucas, Mark?
Oh my Jesus! I just finished
Check
Until Dawn.
and mate.
I'm gonna kill you in your sleep. You guys, are you ready for the tweet? Can I read the fucking tweet, please?
Go.
Throw it to Lucas.
I quit. I just finished Until Dawn. Has anyone in the crew played? If so, what did you think of the story?
Rest in peace, Corey Haim.
No, I've watched some streams of it though. It looks cool. It's like a slasher film basically that plays out like a telltale like adventure game. So you're making decisions, and then based on your decisions, like sometimes characters just immediately get murdered by the killer.
Oh, yikes.
No,
I have
like
it.
bloody axe murder, like 80s slashery kind of thing. And it's all about like branching choices, and I believe it's possible to have everyone die and lose the game. So you're trying to
Yes.
just get through the story. It's really cool.
And you can play like multiple, like you play it a ton of different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, the common metric is to try and get through to the end with the most survivors.
Yeah.
That sounds like way too much responsibility.
But I've
for
heard
me.
I've heard it's really cool, and like what I've seen of the streams looked insane.
All right, next one. EB88 just listened to the Shells episode, and damn, Eric, what has old age done to you?
The what
you
episode?
looking forward to the new? You looking forward to the new Saw movie?
Oh, Shallows. Yeah, no, that's not true. Like I've always like at some point I just said that I enjoyed having a like Halloween tradition of like, hey, we're gonna go see Saw now. That doesn't mean they were good, but I like the ritual aspect, and we've had a lot of odd years in the show where there weren't a lot of like good fall releases. So for a while, you could at least always count on Saw.
There's like the one where they're in a glass case in the middle of a park, and there's a saw, and
the one I always go
it
back
pulls her
to
face towards it.
The one I always go back to is the movie that had Julie Benz in it, which I believe is Saw 5, where
Had
there's
who in it?
Julie Benz, and there's
Mark, that
one,
was Saw 3D, I think.
The one with the pit and
there's
the
a
hypodermic
box.
needles.
Listen, there's a box with 2 rotating saws inside, and underneath there's like a jug, and like there's basically like a container, and they have to fill it with a certain amount of blood to flip the switch to let them free, but they fill it with blood by sticking their hands into the saw and like cutting down the middle of their hands. That's always the one I remember
Mark
for some
already
reason.
undercut this entire segment. I'm sorry.
And there's the one where the guy crossed through barbed wire. And there's the one with the bathtub where they have to complete the circuit by holding hands and sticking their hand to the dead person in the bathtub.
Didn't they super glue the dude from Lincoln Park to a car seat once?
There's the one where you just listen to a Linkin Park CD.
You have to make it through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Or you don't get the key.
Oh my god.
If at any point you push pause, you die.
You will not be able to listen to the Jay-Z Linkin Park radio.
Yeah, wait. If at any point you look at your iPhone, you die.
Yeah.
No. This is Papa Roach. We said Linkin Park. You have to start over.
I'm not gonna lie. There's some Linkin Park
In
songs
order to
that I
escape
kind
this
of
room,
like.
You have to cut your life into pieces.
Oh yeah. No, I have on my running mix, Leslie's one goal if I ever drop dead during a marathon is to find my phone and delete the Linkin Park songs from my Spotify.
Yeah, like I'll jam out to some Linkin Park every once in a while. I'm not gonna.
I'm
lie.
sure if Apple could sneak some U2 songs onto your iPod, they surely could remove some Linkin Park songs from it.
Oh, God.
Jesus Christ.
I'll never
All right.
forget that day that I hit play on my phone on my headphones, and it was like 3 years after that joke, and fucking U2 started playing on my phone, and I immediately was like, Joe.
I have still never heard that album.
Oh, God.
One person in America who actually wanted to listen to it.
This next one's from Alan Murch. Random branding question. What would you say are the official colors of Bloody Good Horror? Blood.
Red
Blood.
and
Oh,
white.
that's a Mark question.
Red and
All the
white with,
colors
a,
of the
with a little
rainbow.
bit of black.
I want the
Blood and also
CMYK.
horror.
I want the CMYK. You know.
Yeah, what's your Pantone codes?
But I don't
Wait,
know.
hold on. I can tell you what SIP thinks.
I think
You
we
guys
should
familiar with
change.
Zip?
I think we should change to either the tie dye or the yellow and green one, though.
I'm not kidding. I've honestly thought many times about changing it completely. Let's see.
We're
My
not
little
cha-
color picker app says it's Fire Engine Red.
Nice.
Oh.
I don't want to change the logo itself again, but I would totally be down for mixing the colors up. I don't care.
I'll get
I'm
a
saying.
tattoo.
I just
Change the
like
logo
I just
to
like
be
our
that weird tie dye that I found.
I just like our current logo as far as
Oh, I'm not getting rid of that shit.
yeah, no, but I would be down for like playing with the colors.
Sold a kidney for that.
For that shit.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Sure did. All right, next one is from B. Lassiter, and I have no idea what this is in reference to, but I'm going to read it anyways. My guess is skipping through the streets naked, covered in blood, and screaming the lyrics to ABBA's Fernando.
Oh, I think there was a 2-part to that. I think you're missing the first part.
Well, it didn't show up in the search. Only one of them had Ask BGH.
I think it was something about you moving to Florida. Like, what will you be
Oh,
arrested
you know
for?
what? He said, yeah, the question was, now that I'm Florida man, what's the thing that I'm going to end up getting arrested for?
Oh, God. Perfect.
Meth. Oh, sorry.
Wow.
Come on, Eric.
I was just thinking Florida. What's the most Florida thing? It's meth.
I thought this was as it applies to me, you know?
Come on,
Doing
the
the
Florida
nasty
man
with the
gets
gator.
arrested for
Give it some-
many more
Give it
interesting
some
things than
time.
that.
What'd you say?
I said give it some time. Do you know you don't have to wear motorcycle helmets in Florida?
I don't think
There's
you
a
do
lot
in
of
Illinois
places,
either,
yeah.
actually.
Yeah, or Pennsylvania.
That's stupid. If you do that, you're an idiot. Congratulations. You're a dummy.
I'd like to think that's like a natural selection sort
Yeah.
of thing. Like
Yeah.
if you get on a motorcycle and you're like, you know, I don't really need a helmet.
That's like a
then-
special kind of dumb. That's bigger than just regular dumb.
Sure. I'm going to go fast on a thing outside and not protect myself.
Another thing.
Next one, Nerds of Gore. Which do you prefer, Resident Evil movies, video games, or comics?
Yes.
Oh, like
Movies.
wait, but all Resident Evil? Is that what he's saying?
Yeah. That's what she's saying.
You know
yes.
what? I like the idea of the games, but every time I play them, I'm like, these games are bad. Like,
Why do I have to stop to shoot?
I thought Resident Evil 4 was awesome.
They control
and That's my
shitty.
only.
I purchased the last game I bought at full price was Resident Evil 6, and it was fucking god awful. And
Well,
I
that's
have
just
not,
your problem.
I have not purchased a full price game since then because it made me so angry.
I'll
Why
be
are you so
honest,
angry?
and it's probably an age thing or something, but like even Resident Evil 4 and 5, I have never been able to figure out the goddamn controls. So
Yeah, no,
I've
that's insane.
Oh.
never got very far in them.
Pretty much any game as a kid, if I turned it on and it had tank controls, I turned it off and threw it out the window and never played it again because that
What
was
the hell is
horseshit.
tank controls? You're
That's
talking about as
where
well.
so tank controls was pre-analog sticks, right?
Uh-huh.
You had
You
tank
would have that
controls
sitting right there.
where you would hit up to go forward and then left to right to turn. So instead of like I want to go that direction, I'm just going to hit that direction, you would have to turn your character all the way around by hitting to the side and then hit forward to go, then hit up to go forward no matter what direction you were facing.
It was impossible to run away from zombies,
Yes.
and then but it also sucked like with Resident Evil with the first ones with the guns because you'd hit the gun button and she'd start to raise her gun, and then you'd have to hit the button again to shoot when it gets to where you want. Otherwise,
you
half the
weren't
time
really
she'd be
aiming.
shooting up
And you
here.
couldn't really aim. It was all a crapshoot. Like once controllers pretty much universally had analog sticks, then you could have the straight up control of like a 3D game. So I will say that like the artwork in those first three games is incredible. Like the preset scenes that they did, that stuff is really cool.
I feel like nothing in the games ever fully caught up to the original like monster concepts. Those are always like the coolest things about those games.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would go with the movies though. Like if I was being given a choice.
Damn.
I'd
Oh,
like to-
yeah, for sure.
I'd like to check out the comics. I didn't know they existed. I'd be curious to see what the stories were like in those.
I will say that I've watched like I've never played 4 and 5 all the way through, but I've watched streams of the entire games, and I enjoy that more because I'm taking in the weirdness without having to deal with all the other bullshit that goes along with it.
I was just reading the plot to Resident Evil, the game, and it is nothing like the movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah, interesting.
All right, next one. Loot Grinders Inc. Rain fights or broken urinal shower fights?
I think.
Rain
Well, I
fights.
think the original rain fight was a broken like pipe shower fight thing.
Oh.
It just looks
Wasn't
like
it
rain
from
'cause
a
it's just
Resident Evil
rain.
movie?
Yeah, it was from
That's where we
4?
first talked about it, yeah.
3 or
Yeah.
4. 3 or 4.
It was in the Hive, I think.
No, it was not. It was one
I
of the
don't
one.
remember rain.
It was the one
It
where
was in
they're
this
like.
movie we just watched.
It was the one where they're like driving through the
I
desert,
blacked out.
and Ali Larder is part of the fight.
Yeah.
Oh, remember her. Okay,
I
this
miss her.
next one is from the Steve Wood. Do you think they
Hmm.
can still pull off a movie that relates to the first game?
Oh, they were mole people. Anywho.
Yes, because they don't give a fuck about the plot. They don't care.
Yeah,
So
The
that doesn't
first
matter.
movie didn't really relate to the first game, so why not?
And it's probably going to be hilarious.
There you go. All right, this next one is from 40 Ounce Heroes. Horror games have really evolved with time. Which are your favorites, and are you looking forward to any?
They kind of scare me too much. I'm actually not way into horror games. Monster Party for the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Yeah, sure.
I'm not big on survival horror. I get frustrated because I am the type that's going to, if something comes around the corner, I'm going to shoot at it with everything I have, and then I'm out of bullets for the next 2 hours, and it's annoying.
Yeah.
I will say there was a lot of scary shit in the first BioShock game.
Yeah.
Like it's probably not straight up horror, but
No,
I feel like
I would call it horror.
Yeah, that's got horror. No,
and
I
also,
played,
I really enjoyed the Dead Space games, which again are more sci-fi. But like in the original Dead Space, and I think maybe even the second one, I can't remember which ones are which, but I feel like those were pretty. I enjoyed those a lot, and they were pretty tense.
This is like a couple of years old now, but I just finished Sunset Overdrive, which was chock full of zombies. That game was so much fun.
Yeah.
Good talk, guys. I'm gonna head out.
I've heard that. I've heard that game's good. Yeah, no, I don't play a lot of horror stuff.
Let's move on.
I liked mowing zombies over with a lawnmower in Dead Rising like 20 years ago.
Sure.
What's
Next
that game
one.
that we used to play, Mark? Like online.
Oh, Left 4 Dead. How could I forget?
Yeah, that was
Left 4 Dead was so fun. Man, so many nights playing Left 4 Dead with total strangers with serious parental issues.
I feel like we used to post that on BGH, like, and we would actually play with like people who listen.
I can remember nights of sitting down and starting playing Left 4 Dead with Mark, and then getting distracted, and then the next thing Mark knows, he's been playing the last 2 hours with my 6-year-old daughter.
Casey,
yeah, the Left
get
4
your shit
Dead
together.
games were great.
Oh, can the prisoner play?
That's That's kind of like the point where I stopped playing online games, because it was like I really enjoyed them, and then Left 4 Dead 2 came out, and I really enjoyed that too. And then I just realized that like I didn't really enjoy getting shit talked by like 11-year-olds, so I just stopped playing games online pretty much, except for Hearthstone. Then you have to like add someone to talk shit to them and honestly. Next one is from Chip Noir. Worst game adaptation: Blood Rain or Silent Hill Revelations?
I've never seen Blood Rain, but I've heard it's pretty bad.
I don't think I've seen it.
Wait, wasn't that one of
Uwe Boll?
What's his name? Uwe Boll? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, does it even need to be said? What was the other?
I would go as
I
far
much
as
prefer Chocolate Rain.
The other one he said was Silent Hill Revelations, which was the sequel that we did. That was one of the worst things we've ever done, I feel like.
I would
yeah, that was
honestly
really
go
bad.
outside his choices and say House of the Dead is a worse.
I love
Game
House of
adaptation.
the Dead is so bad it like becomes a work of art though. Like it's really incredibly
No.
bad. It really
disagree.
is. No, it's awesome.
All right, next one. The Lausch. You know the laser hallway thing was ripped off from Cube, right?
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
You're not the only person who's seen Cube, buddy.
Yeah.
What a louche.
Also, as much as I like Cube, I don't think it has the market cornered on killer lasers.
No. I still maintain the horse getting chopped into pieces from the cell was a better use of that
Oh man.
technology.
Besides, that was a cube. This was a rectangle. So get over
Yeah,
it.
that's right.
I forgot about that horse.
Yeah, dog.
Horse.
Has like nothing to do with the movie, but it's like, what would it be like if we chopped a horse into slices?
If it weren't for my horse, I wouldn't have gotten chopped into tiny slices in a laser hallway.
Never would have
Oh
spent
man,
those
we
4
really
years
are
at medical school.
dropping those references that people
Yellow.
will never understand. All right, next one. Next one. Pitman 1382. What do you guys think of the Stranger Things soundtrack and John Carpenter's Lost Themes 2?
I've not listened to either.
Nope.
Stranger Things is awesome. The
Yeah,
soundtrack
Stranger
is.
Things is really solid. I've listened to that a little bit. I haven't listened to the Carpenter, although I follow him on Twitter, and all he's been talking about is how he's like on tour. So I would listen to it for sure. Have you any of you guys?
No.
I have not. I was just reading an article today about Survive that did the Stranger Things soundtrack. They have a new album actually coming out too, because the popularity. It was an interesting article because the popularity of Stranger Things that has rained down popularity on them has pretty much caught them off guard, and they were like kind of blown away. So
I don't get this whole Barb thing. I don't understand why she's a thing.
She's here's what it is. I think to me, she's such a she's such a well-drawn character because everybody looks at her and goes, I knew that girl in school. And she's also like an archetype from all those 80s movies, right? Like there was a Barb in all those movies that it's kind of like referencing.
If you weren't a Barb, you know a Barb.
Yeah.
I'll take it. All right.
For sure.
I think it's safe to say that Mark was a Barb.
No, I was much more one of the noodly little nerds in Stranger Things than I was a Barb.
It's really exciting for me because I've been saying on the show for years that like horror films really need synth soundtracks again, or at least like memorable soundtracks, not just like bullshit like stock music. So the idea that this stuff is getting in vogue again, like I listen to the It Follows soundtrack all the time on Spotify. It's fucking awesome.
Walking around and listening to the It Follows soundtrack is unsettling.
Yeah, really.
But like, so that same band,
about you.
that same band, is that Perturbator? Is that right, Casey? Or is that somebody else? No, that's
I don't know if that's the one that did It Follows.
it's somebody else. But it's the same. I'm gonna look it up now. They also they have like 10 albums on Spotify, and they did all the music to Fez, which is just incredible too. But like,
that's
great synths.
Dead something.
I'm looking it up right now.
Perturbator.
Disaster Piece.
Disaster Piece. Yes.
Disaster Piece. So we're actually cooking up a list of some awesome throwback soundtracks for the Bloody Good Horror.
Oh.
So look out for that. Sometime.
I hope Trick or Treat is on there.
Sometime before episode 400. Be on the lookout for that. Last one is from Diesel Stroke 316.
Oh.
Okay.
Excuse me. Overall thoughts on the entire Resident Evil movie series as a whole. Some of the things you thought were right and wrong.
It's like
dear Lord,
like
that's a big
fever.
I think we gotta wait till the final one before
Most of it's wrong.
It's like a fever dream. Like there's no consequences to anything that happens. None of the movies, like a lot of the sequels in the middle, don't even like pay lip service to the stuff that happened in the last one. They just start off with new nonsense. Like it really is. I would love to see like genuine interviews with Anderson and see if it's just all been a huge joke to him or if he's really been trying. Because if he is, then he may actually be as bad as Schnars thinks he is.
I think he's trying.
Like that's scary because these
that.
films were like written by kindergartners. Like that's the level of how bad
it does get like painfully obtuse. And I do truly want to believe
but
that
I feel like they're always like at least fun to watch. Like there's never been one that I've been watching and just been like, ugh, like I can't even, sit through watching this. They're always at least like entertaining on
they're
some sort of level.
unique, right? Like they are absurd in a really weird, unique way that differentiates them from any other like bad movie that I can think of. And it's really hard to like quantify that.
No, I agree.
There's something. They are something. Oh, God. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to put coherent thoughts around them once we watch the final one.
Because, we've basically only seen most of them once. I would really love to do a marathon myself, but I'd have to, like, buy them, I guess, which I'm not going to do.
You'd also, like, we'd have to check in on you just to make sure you weren't, like, fully off the deep end at some point.
Yeah, cutting one pant leg off your all your pants.
Last time I saw
Queen
him,
of the Damned, that had a pretty amazing new metal soundtrack.
Last time I saw him, he was packing quarters into a sawed-off shotgun. I wasn't sure what he was doing. Do you remember in the one, like literally Pyramid Head shows up in the one?
Oh yeah, I think that was the same one we were talking about with the rain fights, right?
Yes, I think you're right.
Yes.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's who they're fighting in the rain fight.
Wasn't Pyramid? I thought Pyramid Head was the Silent Hill thing.
Yeah, but then there was a character in Resident Evil 5 that looked just like him, and then that was one of the things they just took randomly with no context and put into the movie.
Theirs was Triangle Head.
It's like a pyramid but flat.
Okay, it's not Pyramid Head. He's got a giant burlap sack over his head, and he's like a giant, and he's got like spikes sticking.
Sackhead.
He's got like spikes sticking out of his head.
Oh, they're mold people.
Oh, he's got like weird molded shoulder pads on with spikes sticking out of them.
Right.
As you do.
His head is like more the shape of like a Hershey's Kiss.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Okay, you're right.
Let's
Schnars,
call him a Hirschkin.
Schnars, what are we doing next week?
We are doing Don't Breathe,
Ooh.
which may or may not be an anti
Not to be
blind
confused
people.
with All Blind People Are Monsters, the movie Eric was reading about.
Yeah. That is in theaters. I believe it's the widest release of the week.
Nice.
Oh.
Nice. Mark, what's going on at bloodygoodhorror.com?
So many things. There was a tweet with BGH happening sometime that we were supposed to mention, and I forgot when it's going to be.
Oh,
but stay
yeah.
tuned.
No, it's going to be Labor Day weekend, and they are going to be watching the original Resident Evil, which I think will be the first in their ongoing series of Tweet with BGHs, which is going to go through all of the Resident
Gosh.
Evils.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've got that going on. New reviews every day. Andrew just posted a list ranking all of the King Kong films from worst to best, which is
I
pretty
don't
cool.
think all of them. I think he just listed a bunch of them.
He just listed some of them.
I didn't see the Peter Jackson one in there, right? That's
It's in there.
All right, brother.
Jesus,
You say
Joe,
so.
pay attention, would you?
I disagree.
And also, check out the Secret Murder Jams playlist on Spotify. Also, if you look up Bloody Good Horror, another playlist should come up that I made around Halloween time. So if you enjoyed the Secret Murder Jams, you would also enjoy that. And also, John Shelton made one once upon a time, so I'll try to find that. Yeah.
Awesome.
We got all sorts of cool stuff going on.
And finally, if you want to stream the show live, including the pre-show, where you can hear stuff happen that you're not going to hear in this show, check out patreon.com.
Here, very detailed descriptions of Eric's dental situation.
Detailed, yeah. Check
Dental
out
dam.
patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror. It's going to do it for the show. Welcome back, fam. Hope everybody enjoyed it, and we'll talk to you next week.
Adios.
See you.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
All right. Oh, hold on. I got to stop everything here.
What?